What's going on, guys? What's going on, Thai Squad? What's going on, everybody? Who's the best defense player of the year so far? Myles Garrett or TJ Watt? Now, I do think you have to put both of these players in the discussion for it, but I do think when you look at it, when you look at it, I think you have to say that both of these players coming into the NFL draft in the same year. Both of these players coming into the NFL draft the same year. Looks like good NFL players so far. And I have to give TJ Watt credit because both of these players came into the draft the same year. Both of these players, Myles Garrett and TJ Watt, came into the same draft together. Came in the same NFL draft together. And and Myles Garrett is my favorite player is my favorite player to watch. And I'm going to say this. I think TJ Watt, Myles Garrett is my favorite player to watch. I'm going to say that. But I think Myles Garrett has a good defense. Had a good defense last year. Had a good defense last year. He had a good he almost if the Brown he has a good defense this year again. He has a good defense this year again. And with TJ Watt, I do think when you look at it, TJ Watt and Myles Garrett both have good defenses and both have good teams. The Browns last year made the playoffs. We can all say that with the Browns and how the Browns are doing so far, with how the Browns are doing so far, I can say that the Browns don't count out my Browns. Don't count out my Browns so far. Don't count out the Browns. Don't count out the Browns because I think that I think that don't count out my Browns because yeah, some takes are going to be like for T, some takes are going to be like for Myles Garrett and TJ Watt. Yeah, the Browns beat the Steelers in the playoffs in 2020. Yeah, the Browns aren't going to make the playoffs this year. Unless they turn it around because the last time the last time a team turned a 3-8 record was the Los Angeles Rams, but that's a different conversation for a different day. But back to Myles Garrett and TJ Watt. I do think when you look at it, some let me get the elephant out of the room. Some takes will be like, well, Myles Garrett and TJ Watt met in the playoffs. They're not on the same they're not going against each other. They're not going against each other on the side of the football. They're both defensive players. Um, yeah, there's R&B takes about that. But when you look at what Myles Garrett and TJ Watt is doing for their teams, they want to retire with only one team. Myles Garrett wants to bring a Super Bowl to the Browns and to Cleveland. Myles Garrett wants to bring a Super Bowl to the Browns, to win a Super Bowl with the Browns. And I think TJ Watt wants to win a Super Bowl with the Steelers as well. But we're always going to bring up, well, they're not on the same side of the defensive. They are both defense players. They're both defense players, and they don't go against each other in the game on offense and defense. They're both defense players. Like, there's going to be takes about that. But when you look at it, same draft class, same draft class, are having amazing careers so far. There's nothing about it that you can say that these players are always going to be in the discussion for Defense Player of the Year. Should be in the discussion for both of these players should be in the discussion for MVP. And season for the Browns, like as a Browns fan that watches the Browns, I'm going to say it is tough. It is tough because as Browns fans, we had a lot of tough seasons that I don't want to get into. A tough year, tough seasons, tough records that I don't want to get into. And I think Myles Garrett is going to retire a Brown. Is going to retire a Brown. I think the Browns are going to win a Super Bowl and probably next year, the year after that. Just don't count out my Browns. Don't count out the Browns. Because I feel like the Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be the most talked about teams every year. Every year, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be talked about, and the Browns are going to be talked about. But these two players, TJ Watt and these two players, Myles Garrett and TJ Watt, will be talked about are going to be in the conversation for Defense Player of the Year. Are going to be in the conversation for Defense Player of the Year. And if I had to choose, I would still choose Myles Garrett. Now, I'm saying that TJ Watt, let me get the elephant out of the room. TJ Watt is an amazing NFL player and is probably going to retire a Steeler. But we do not know that. We do not know if 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 what's going to happen. We do not know if TJ Watt, who's going to win Defense Player of the Year. I think the best defense right now that is having a best defense year for both of these players. The best team between these two that are having the best defense year has the best defense is the Steelers this year. This year, the Steelers have a good defense. Next year, like I said, the Browns will probably have a good defense. The Steelers will still be up there behind them and with a good defense because the Steelers still got TJ Watt. The Browns, they got Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, a lot of pieces. Pittsburgh's got a lot of pieces. The Steelers got a lot of pieces as well. I think when you look at it from a standpoint, I'm going to say, I know this is curious, and I'm going to say that both of these players will be in the Hall of Fame one day. Because when you look at what TJ Watt is doing, he hasn't won a Defense Player of the Year before. And I do think TJ Watt has wanting to win a Defense Player of the Year reward. He wants to be a Defense Player of the Year. wants to win Defense Player of the Year. But when you look at it, does Miles does who's the best defense player of the year? I mean, who's the best defense player? I would say both of them. I would say both of them because I'm going to get the elephant in the room. Some will have different takes on who's the best defense player, who's the best defense player. Like Matt Crosby would be in that discussion. Kim Haywood would be in that discussion. Myles Garrett will be in that discussion. T.J. Watt. JOK would be in that discussion. Would be in that discussion. But I think there will be a conversation where it's going to come down to who's the best defense player of the year. Who's the best defense player? And it's going to come down to these two. Because these two are always going to be in the discussion in the same conversation because they were in the same draft class, because they're in the same division, because they're in the same, like, there's going to be discussions about this. But guys, sub if you're new and never give up your dreams. And I hope all of you guys are safe out there and stay blessed, everybody, and peace.